Welcome to Basketball on Figueroa, the only podcast breaking down everything happening with the Lakers, Clippers, and Sparks. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and joining me today is my co-host, Darian Vaziri, a.k.a. Dime Dropper. Dime, how you doing, man?
No, actually, Edwin, I've not been in the best mood today. Been way too annoyed with stands in my comment section on YouTube because, you know, me, I try to answer everyone's comment on Locked On Clippers or on Dime Dropper. There are very few comments that I ignore. So I try to give everybody, you know, a chance and give them the attention from commenting on my video and supporting. But then that comes with me actually getting invested in reading these comments, and I see all these stands that just have these skewed views, and I'm just like so angry, and I'm like, God, this is awful. But other than that, I'm happy to be talking to a team fan tonight. How you been?
I've been good, man. Yeah, it's always a balance. I work really hard on commenting as much as I can. But for example, I'll just make up one. But like, if I write an article and like I say AD played poor, and 18 people are like, I disagree. After about the 7th or 8th, I'm like, okay, I've defended my same. It's not all those people's fault because they don't know I've had this conversation 7 times in the last 15 minutes. But for me, I'm like, okay, how many more times am I going to try to explain what I've already explained? So I think it's a balance. You want to make sure people know, hey, I'm a real person and I will respond, and this is my community. I'm going to make it, you know, something that I'm a part of. And part of it also gets, at one point, it just gets out of hand. You're like, hey, you know what? Unless if they're not being toxic and it's just annoying, I'm like, you know, I'm just going to let it ride because I'm like, I can't explain for the 18th time why this was a bad AD game, but that's okay. Like, I already did that a few times. So that's my little advice to you on that. But yeah, it can definitely be a tough thing. It's easier and I give you props for that because it's easier to just say, well, whatever, they're commenting, I'm just going to leave it alone. But I like the fact that you're in there and you're getting into it. Just make sure, you know, as Jay-Z once said, a wise man told me, don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. So just keep that in mind when you're in the trenches there. Don't get lost to the point where it's like, wait, I don't know. I just see 2 people yelling. Who's the idiot? I'm starting to get confused. But yeah, props to you for doing that. And yeah, of course, it can kind of be tricky. Another reason why
I gotta do what you said though. No, I gotta do what you said. Just let it. Just ignore it sometimes. Like, just forget it.
Yeah, you addressed a couple people. I don't know. We all have our limit, but once you're like, okay, I've said it enough. It's like, okay, cool. I've said it enough.
It's not even that, dude. I didn't think about it. Right now, I have 4 different, not really Paul George, but 3 different like guys with stan bases.
Yes.
Like, you guys have 2. I mean, I know D'Lo has his cult of fans, but I don't think it's that large. Yeah, LeBron and AD. I don't know. Are there a lot of AD stands? I mean, LeBron stands are the biggest hive of them all.
Not like that. Like AD, I feel like the general Lakers fans, you know, love AD and they fight for him, but they also say, hey, like he wasn't there today, you know? And I feel like you're right. There's LeBron stands who it doesn't matter. LeBron's the GOAT. And as you know, with the Russ stuff, you know, there are the people who's like, oh, it doesn't make a difference. It's never their fault. It's always something else. And that's what gets infuriating when you're like, no, I'm watching the game. Like, can we be fair? And they're like, no. It's the coach, it's the whatever, and it's like, you know, sometimes it's us, you know, and that includes those star players. They're not perfect, you know. LeBron doesn't, you know, go 19 for 19 every night. He misses shots. That's okay. Like we can admit that. Like, it doesn't have to be this big deal. But you know, agenda's got an agenda, right?
Yeah, Kawhis are horrible. They're horrible.
Yeah, I can imagine. So another thing that's really gotten me really excited today, and I want to start this and then we're going to go into the games, is the NBA in-season tournament is something we're continuing to talk about, and we're definitely going to talk about more today because the Lakers are still in it, and also the NBA in-season tournament is not over, so it'll probably be something we talk about for a couple more weeks until it really wraps up, you know, this upcoming weekend. But I didn't even realize the Celtics were playing tonight, and watching the Celtics do what the Celtics do, which is collapse when the pressure is truly on, when you can actually win something of significance. All I've known my life, I've seen the history, just like you. I've seen the history. I've studied it. I've watched it. I've seen the 30 for 30s. But you know what? That's what I have to do. I have to go in a time machine through YouTube or ESPN documentaries or go to a library and rent the hard paper cover of the Times and read about Celtics legacy, because when I turn on the television and I stream it, I do not see it. It is not present. You know what is present? The Celtics folding again and again and again like a burnt out gambler in Vegas who just doesn't understand it's not going to be your night. It's not going to turn around. You're not going to hit 21 4 times in a row and recoup what you've lost. Quit while you're behind, Boston. And I saw it again today. I saw it again with who? The Indiana Pacers. Shout out to Larry Bird's favorite team, the Indiana Pacers. They went out there.
Oh man, that was below the belt.
Business. They took care of business. Halliburton just put on the show, and Jason Tatum, I love the guy. He's a great player, but also he did what he always does. Turnover late in the game, just when they thought they could rally back. Guess what? You're not going to rally back. And Celtics fans who are like, I don't care that we lost today. I don't care that we got burnt out by the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't care that we lost the NBA Finals the year before that. And I don't care that in 2020 we failed to make that finals. Guess what? I'm glad you don't care because you're not going to win anything anymore. You've won one championship in my entire existence, and it spans beyond 3 decades. I'll be hitting 4 in a few years, and guess what? I don't think that number is going to change. You might have 17, but in my lifetime, you've gotten one. That was on us, and we got our leg back in 2010.
Wow.
There you go.
That was your most epic rant I've ever heard in my entire life. We have to make that one go viral. Oh,
well, my God. To clip that one.
In the beginning, we have to. In the beginning, I was like, damn, you're really going to say that about a team with 17 rings? But then you prefaced it by saying in your lifetime that spans 3 decades, and that's a fact. I mean, It's unfortunate. Celtics have always, besides the 90s, they've been very good, but they have fallen short outside of 2008. Like, there's legitimately, it's funny because I went to school in Massachusetts, so I was around. No, it was the best. But just for being around Celtics fans, they have a totally different arrogance than Laker fans. Laker fans of my generation are way more arrogant because they've seen more success. They had Kobe. The way that they are, arrogant-wise, is like how they are about the Patriots and Tom Brady. But when it comes to the Celtics, they don't have that much confidence. Like, they act like they're like, oh, like they're whine. You know what I mean? Like, why does this always happen to us? I'm like, dude, you have 17 rings. Like, quit your crying. But to them, it's like we've only won one since, as you said. So it's totally different. The Laker fans that I've grown up with have just experienced a lot better. But yeah, man, I mean, that was pretty epic. And I love, it's always good to hear, especially with all this too much Laker Clipper toxicity for not even being like a real NBA rivalry in the history books. See a nice lay into the Celtics, or Celtics fans lay into the Lakers. I always love to see it. So that was amazing. Yeah, I mean, credit to the Pacers, man. I think the biggest shot in that whole thing was Larry Bird's favorite team. Oh my God, that's gonna hurt, man.
He's from Indiana. He coached there. I'm sure if it was up to him, he would have been a Pacer instead of a Celtic. But anyways,
he probably he would have rather been a Pacer definitely over anything. But man, when that guy hits the deck, I think he bleeds green and white.
Yeah, fair.
All right, what's on the agenda?
Let's get into it. So we're going to start with a Lakers W, an actual W, not like today's W where it was celebrating Boston's departure. It was Lakers Detroit, 133-107. That kicked off this week's action here, beating the Detroit Pistons. Again, I'm pulling up the stats here for myself to remember. Yeah, this is a great D'Lo game, right? You've been talking about D'Lo and how he's been 35 points, an absolute bucket. And one thing I love about D'Lo is that I think it does get talked about, but not enough. We hear a lot about, he's icy and he's hot, but man, his handles, he had this nasty crossover step back, like, no, not to trick you there, but like a James Harden step back 3, like in the third quarter. Like, I literally was at home and I like yelped. I was like, oh my God, like he really did that. He put the moves on him, put him on skates. Dude was half on the ground, and then he hit the 3, and I'm like, oh, he's really feeling it. And he had a great game. He's definitely the reason the Lakers cruised to victory here, 133-107. So I'd love to hear your thoughts here on this matchup, and if one of you saw it, and two, like if you did, what you thought about D'Lo's play here.
That was the game against Detroit, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Oh, I did watch that game. And one thing I noticed was the Pistons don't have outside shooting, but D'Lo and AD just were amazing from the jump. AD was getting really good post position, sealing deep. And that's one thing I've talked about with AD this year is like, his mid-range and his jump shot has not been fantastic. He's really scoring mainly in the paint right now around the basket. And you don't want him to just be a pick and roll guy or a lob just a lob threat and just a guy that's feeding off everyone's plate. You want him to be able to get his own. And I think when he catches the ball close to the basket, like on the block, within 10 feet, you're probably going to get a good look from him, and it's pretty hard to stop him. And I like when it's all about AD's body language and what kind of mood he's in that night offensively. You're getting the great defense, but when he's in that mode offensively, he's one of the best players in the league. As far as D'Angelo Russell, the haters not the haters, but the people that are skeptical of him will say he's only doing it against a bad team, but we'll see. It's a process for the Lakers. There's no such thing as a bad win, and to win in commanding fashion where LeBron didn't even have to do that much, that's always a plus. So really, and also that was the return of Cam Reddish, and it's good to have him back if you're a Laker fan with the way he's played this season. And one thing I've been very attentive of is we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet. Cam Reddish's backcourt out of nowhere steals and forcing turnovers this season. That's
he's been great at deflections too. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, just coming out of nowhere when guys in the backcourt aren't expecting it. So good win for the Lakers, taking care of business. Detroit in a state of disarray.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, they've lost like 16 in a row, 17 in a row at this point. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know off the top of my head the record in the NBA, but they've got to at least be 60% there. I think it's like 33 or something like that. So they're well on their way. That's not a record you want to be a part of. And yeah, they just can't get it together. I know that they're rebuilding and they're working on, starting from scratch, building assets and going through that whole thing. It's going to be a multi-year process, but you would think they could get a win here and there. And they started 2-1, which is surprising. We were all like, at least I was like, oh, that's nice. And it's like, oh, little did I know, okay, that's it. No more. Those 2 wins. That first week was like everything. You should just turn it off and come back, in the spring. Maybe you can win some games when other teams are resting or something. It's been rough. And the Lakers took advantage, like you said. The D'Lo AD, the chemistry they have is incredible. And I think these kind of games, like you said, are a reminder of why you got to be careful if you do trade D'Lo away, because this is what his best version is. And he's shown it to you. And he's also taken the Lakers at least to the Western Conference Finals. I know he flamed out there, but he took them there. And you got to be careful whoever you bring in, like a Zach LaVine. Can he reach those heights on a consistent basis? Can he reach those heights in games that matter? We haven't really seen LaVine. It's not his fault necessarily, but he hasn't been in those kind of big level games. I was joking about the Celtics in big level games, but as you know, you learn a lot about players and teams and coaches and all of that in those high pressure moments. I've seen D'Lo falter in the Western Conference Finals, but I also saw him be the reason the Lakers beat the Warriors. So I've seen that. And other players, when you don't know yet, when you assume, you're taking a big risk on something that can at least work this amount, and another one that you don't know. And also, D'Lo's been pretty good, like we've said, consistently this year. Better defensively. He's just been more engaged. He's been more where you want him to be. That's what I tell people when I say, okay, you're going to trade for him. Keep in mind, because this is the good version. You're giving that up too, not just the bad. And it's something to think about. Now, for the Clippers, they also played. We had all our games were like in tandem together, even though, we were in different stadiums and things of that nature. But we had Clippers at Sacramento. And this was one I think that I thought the Kings would take care of business. And I think you actually picked the Clippers, and they actually took care of business. They won.
I don't think I did.
31. Oh, you didn't pick them?
No.
So we had no one believed in them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what they surprised us in 131, 117. The reason they surprised me is I still thought that the Kings have just been so good at home. They've been good for a couple years now, but I just thought they would take care of business. What did you see here? Why were we wrong? What did the Clippers do right to get this victory?
This was maybe the best game of the season for the Clippers, and the worst game I've seen the Kings play in the Mike Brown era, straight up. Like, they looked tired from the back-to-back. They had that previous game against Golden State. I think that was the Malik Monk game winner in the in-season tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
So that took the life out of them, and they couldn't get stops. And so they couldn't get on transition. And I got to give James Harden credit. That was probably – he might have been his best game as a Clipper. He was really aggressive, and he was actually looking at the basket. And when he made a couple of opening threes to open up the game, he started just looking to get downhill more on the pick and rolls. And, they're starting to guard him tighter. So I thought he was awesome. And then Kawhi was really good. I think that was his best game of the season too. He had like 34 points on 14 for 18 shooting. He was awesome. So just a really solid, that was maybe the best offensive performance the Clippers had. Defense was solid. I think Zubats locked up Sabonis. Sabonis had like a terribly inefficient game. I don't have the stats in front of me, but that's what really stood out to me in that game. It was a great game for Kawhi. a great game for James Harden, and Paul George played solid defense. I don't remember how Russ played much in that game. I think he played well in the second half, but how many minutes did he get? Do you have the stats up?
Yeah, 19 minutes, 9 points, 2 for 6, 5 for 6 from the free throw line, 8 assists though, and 5 rebounds.
Yeah. He wasn't bad in that game at all. So I think that was a solid balance of all four of them playing pretty well. Of course, the Russ fans aren't going to like the 19 minutes. They're always going to complain about that, but sure. It was good. It was the best performance, and it just shows that the Clippers do have potential to be one of the best teams in the league, but the consistency, that makes the difference.
Right. No, yeah, 100%. You're right. The consistency makes a difference. Like you said, 5 players in double figures for this one. I think what stands out to me is, like you said, the Sabonis thing. And I've seen Sabonis torch pretty good bigs before live in person. He was 3 for 12 and he played 31 minutes. So there really was, no justification for that except that his defender was, making him harder opportunities to score there. And that's why he had 9 missed field goals compared to 3 that he converted. And like you said, that was the best that maybe the Clippers played, and definitely a really, really quality win. Again, all wins count the same, but the context does matter, and you want your team to do well against teams that are on paper good, because that shows, okay, cool, when we play the best teams, we can step up and hold our own. And the Clippers definitely did more than that. They won the game, so that's what you want to see. Now, moving back to the Lakers, they finished their road trip at Oklahoma City, and man, this was the one. It was just an ugly game to watch. The team just looked tired. They looked like they were done. They looked like they were at the end of a road trip, and they were like, all right, like whatever happens. I mean, they got punched in the mouth and just didn't respond in that second quarter. 42-32, 23 quarter. That was the big swing. They actually were up in the first quarter. They're almost never leading at the end of the first quarter. They have a minus 3.6 point differential on the first quarter alone. All season, it's the only quarter that they are negative. Everything else they're positive. It's literally their worst quarter, and they finally had a good one. They've only had like 3 or 4 this year. And they just gave it up in the second quarter, and that was it. Yeah, to me, that's all it was. I mean, not to make excuses, but it was just like, hey, like you're tired, and they just didn't have enough to kind of get going. AD was great; he had 31 points, but again, he was like the only one that kind of had the, I wouldn't say appropriate energy, but just kind of gave the kind of performance you expect from him. And Shea was Shea, 33 points. He went to the line a lot. He had 10 free throws. He converted all of them. So again, if you're going to give Shea that kind of, that whistle, he's going to, make you pay for it. And he definitely did. The Lakers had a lot of success last year guarding Shea with Vando, but Vando wasn't there. So he really was like, okay, great. So it's just the guards. He's like, I'm going to bully these guys, and I'll just, deal with AD when I have to deal with him. And he pick and chose his spots perfectly. They kind of just dominate there. Did you get a chance to watch this one? What did you think about OKC Lakers here?
I did. It's funny because the Lakers had a great first quarter. Like they were on top of them in the first quarter. D'Lo and AD came out really, really good, but the transition defense for the Lakers was horrendous. Like they had a really cold second quarter, and you could just see OKC's youth. Like Jalen Williams had a really good start to that second quarter, and obviously I know SGA is going to get his. LeBron didn't start really showing up till the third quarter when he started making threes, and the Lakers cut it down to 13, which I thought was like, they didn't totally roll over and die, but there was that play. It was a sequence. Isaiah Joe blocked an AD dunk in the fourth quarter when it was like, I think 107 to 120. And then Lou Dort made a transition 3, and that was basically the end of the game. But what stood out to me actually was Chet Holmgren giving Anthony Davis problems in the beginning of that third quarter. And that's not even to say that AD was playing bad defense. It's really hard to guard that Chet Holmgren SGA pick and pop. Like, you need to stop SGA from going downhill. Lakers are missing a good point of attack, guys, you said, in Vando. And, I mean, AD helps. Chet pops out. It's really hard to cover that space for anybody. A pick and pop in the NBA, just the history of the NBA is hard to guard. So you need to have someone rotating, and with how spaced out today's NBA is, it makes things very hard. And Chet, even the times that AD did close out, his ability to pump fake, take a dribble or two in for a pull-up. He even had that turnaround on him and won. I was really impressed, man. These rookies like Blake Griffin and Ben Simmons and Chet that basically are like sophomores, but it's their first taste of playing in the NBA, but they've been around an NBA team for a whole year. They're not real rookies, and they never have that kind of they play with more confidence than normal rookies. All 3 of them did. even Ben Simmons, who confidence in Ben Simmons these days is a topic for another day. But starting out, he was like, he seemed very comfortable that first game. So, in that first season. So yeah, very impressive. The Thunder they're the real deal, man.
Yeah, no, I mean they've been asset building and growing, and they have, I don't even know how many first and second round picks they have coming up in the next 3 to 5 years. But they have a war chest that they're building there, and slowly it's starting to come together. Like you said, we saw Chet. I think I would love to ask one of those guys, maybe the next time they come to town for a Lakers game, I can actually sit down and ask them, why they think they have that confidence. The closest kind of guess I have without actually asking one of those guys is that I think the fact that they've made the league and they're sitting there talking, I think they feel comfortable. They're able to go through, this is what our schedule's like, this is what the flights are like, this is what the cities are like, this is what our routine for game day is like. Without playing, they're not playing, but since most of them are still sitting on the end of the bench, they still get to get that, and you kind of get the I've been at this job feeling for a year without actually doing it. It's kind of the same reason why there's always that philosophy in football. Is it better to let him play or let him sit? Well, if you let him sit, he can just get all the information without the pressure. And then when he plays, he's more ready because he's had a whole year to just study, and practice, in a protected environment versus just have him throw out there and, he's going to see defenses he's never seen and he's going to get overwhelmed. Obviously, NFL quarterback technically, at least to most people, is a little more complicated than like a transition to the NBA. But the logic's there of if they sit and they watch, they can see more. And it kind of reminds us of back in the day when players didn't sit, but they had 2-3 years of college against also other players with 2-3 years of college. It was a better experience. So even those rookies were more polished because they had, they were playing like, Patrick Ewing for like 3 years, who was in Georgetown, and like it was just a higher level of basketball even before. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's interesting you point out that obviously Chet's not a regular rookie because of that, but also that might be a reason why he feels more comfortable, more confident, kind of knows where his spots should be because he's been able to see like on the court his teammates playing for like 80 games and kind of understands it a little bit better.
Do you think I was gonna ask, do you know, I was looking this up yesterday. Do you know who the last number 1 overall pick was that spent more than 1 year in college? So like obviously this doesn't count Wemby because he didn't go to college.
That's a great question. Okay.
So like the last non-one and done guy.
Man, I wanted to say Okafor, but he was drafted second.
He was Okafor didn't come out of high school?
No. He played for he was with UConn.
Okay. Yeah, he was with UConn. You're right.
But I'm not sure if he played 2 years. I think he did play. I think he played 2 or 3.
It's not him though.
It's not him because he was the same year as Dwight Howard, and Dwight Howard went 1. Maybe I'm going too far back. Let me go a little.
You're right. He did go to UConn.
Yeah, I know, man. Those were the golden years for me of college basketball. That was my favorite era, like Melo, Okafor, Hakeem Warwick, all those guys. That was a good time. Fighting Illini with Luther Head and D Brown and all them. That's like my favorite. Like I was growing up still and stuff. All right, so let me see. Okay, Lonzo, Tatum. No, they were. Man, I'm trying to think. So the question is, when's the last time a number 1 pick played more than 1 year of college ball? So 2 and up?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna give myself like 10 more seconds, and then I'm gonna wave the white flag or just throw a name out there.
Right.
Let's see. So we got Wemby. Oh man, not 2016. Not 20. Man, it must be. Wait. Oh wait. Okay. Man, it's the guy from Cleveland. It's the guy coming from Cleveland, right?
Anthony Bennett. That's a good guess.
Yeah.
I looked up yesterday. I thought he played 1 year. Only.
Okay, that's my only guess I got. I don't know. Who is it?
Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Griffin.
Wow.
I thought it was Anthony Bennett too, but it says he only played 2012 to 13 for UNLV.
Wow. Yeah. Shout out to Anthony Bennett, man.
Yeah, and even bigger shout out to Blake Griffin.
Yes, of course, because he's the last one to do it. I wonder when the next time is going to be. I think it's going to be a while unless the rules change.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so next game, I love this series. We got a back-to-back. We'll talk about the first one, of course. We got Clippers, Warriors. Both games were great to me. Obviously, I'm sure Dime likes one more than the other, but the first one was 120-114. The Warriors took care of business on this one. This one was interesting for me to kind of watch and also kind of have the timeline open, seeing the Warriors fans upset with what Kerr was doing, seeing the Clippers fans encouraged and discouraged, and kind of things, coming to a head there in that final quarter. It didn't go down to the wire, but it kind of did, crunch time and all that. So, Dime, take us through. It's up to you. You can go over the whole game or just kind of focus on that fourth quarter and how Golden State was able to kind of squeak it out there.
This game really made me angry, not because they didn't play hard or something, but it was the duality of PG. Like, we talk about Anthony Davis and the games that he doesn't show up and stuff. Paul George has those games, and this is coming, off of the Denver game we talked about last week where it was completely unserious. And this game, Paul he didn't defend. He settled for jumpers. Just a disgraceful, didn't fight over screens. Disgraceful performance by him, to be honest. Kawhi was good, but he didn't shoot. He checked in with like 6.5 minutes left in the game, and he didn't shoot in a close game till there was 1 minute and 50 seconds left. Unacceptable. Ty Lue went with a 4-guard lineup at the end of the third with Bones out of nowhere. Just threw him in there out of nowhere. It didn't actually end up being very costly, but it was just like, what's going on? And then Zubats doesn't close another close game. And Steph Curry picks on James Harden in the pick and roll. James Harden had a good first half, second half not great. Westbrook had a bad first half, second half was pretty good. And then Westbrook and Harden are closing again together. So that was just a bad game all the way around. Klay Thompson, I got to give him a shout out. It was one of his better games I've seen in a while. He was really good in the second half, and yeah, good win for the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm always rooting for Klay. Obviously, his ties with the Lakers in Los Angeles, and just it's hard not to like Klay. He just likes to shoot, man. That's all he likes to do. He gets them up, that's for sure. He gets them up, even when they're not going in. He gets them up. So yeah, it was a good Klay game. It was nice to see him have one of those. And like you said, it felt like there was a good Clippers game in here, but there was also too much of the bad Clippers game in here. It was like pockets. Like for moments, you're like, oh, here they go. What are they doing there? Why are they doing that lineup? Okay, is this what you're closing with? Oh, it might work. Oh, no, it's not going to work. And it was kind of just like that, kind of like Goldilocks. Like this lineup's too big. This one's too small. This one's too, here's this person's good half. Here's this person's bad. It just never got the continuity. Just wasn't there from start to finish, and wasn't there for long stretches of time enough. And against a team like the Warriors, even now, the Warriors' record is obviously not great. They've been struggling, but they still have that punch. They still got those shooters. It doesn't take much for them to get hot and get going. And although they didn't run away with the game, they were good enough, and key players were good enough to get the win. And they're always going to, until further notice, as long as Dre, Klay, and Steph are on that team, they're always going to be a tough game to win, even if it is a game you ultimately can win. In a series, you can ultimately win. All right, so final Lakers game we have here is Lakers versus Houston, which is kind of becoming like a low-key favorite now because of Dylan Brooks and like all his antics. This one was at Crypto. They were finally home after the road, the 4-game road series that they just finished, and the Lakers took care of business, 107-97. I was in the building covering it for Silver Screen and Roll, and the energy was pretty good. It wasn't like it was higher than most regular season games, but it wasn't as high as, like, let's say the Lakers-Clippers game was. But it was just like a notch below that and below the NBA in-season tournament, but higher than, like, I don't know, a game against Memphis, let's say. And that was because of Dylan Brooks. The minute they called his name out, Dime, the boos I heard, you would think, like, Darth Vader just got announced. I was like, do you guys really hate this guy that much? Yes, they booed him very loudly. His first time he touched the ball, he's getting booed loudly. When LeBron was going one-on-one on him, the crowd's cheering up. Like, they really don't like him. An F Houston, Houston sucks chant started like around the third quarter. Like, they don't like this guy. They don't like it, and they made it known, and the Lakers took care of business. So it's always fun when a regular season game just even has a little bit more spice to it. Again, it's competitive. That's what the sport's about. So it was good to see, and the Lakers pulled off the win. Again, got a good Cam Reddish game. He had 11 points. He's still starting even with Jared Vanderbilt finally back. He only played 14 minutes. So, again, they're easing him in. He looked rusty, too. He just looked – his couple shots he took weren't good. And, he looked like a guy like what he is, a guy who's missed the first, 20 games of the season, and he just got thrown in there. So they're kind of easing him in. He only played 14 minutes, but it was nice to see him kind of come back and stuff like that. And Lakers took care of business 107-97. We got the Ime controversy there with Ime and LeBron getting into it. Then Ime gets ejected. It was kind of near the end of the game. It didn't really matter, but it was entertaining. What were your takeaways from this Laker win here?
I actually didn't get to see this one because it was on a Saturday night and I was out, but I saw the highlights.
Right.
Yeah, I saw the highlights though, and LeBron's 360 layup was unbelievable. AD had some spectacular plays. The Ime stuff was obviously the stuff that overshadowed the whole thing. Crazy. Lakers have played the Rockets 3 times already this season.
Yep, 3.
But that's a good win. Who would you say were your standouts?
Definitely, yeah. That LeBron spin. When it happened, like, we talked about, hey, like the media members aren't supposed to, like, we're supposed to be stoic and stuff. I won't name names, but there were definitely some people who were like, what? Like, everyone was just like looking around, like, did you just see he just like spun like a freaking, a Beyblade right there? Like, what's going on? It was pretty incredible. And the crowd just like, every now and then LeBron, when he does a monstrous dunk or something, the crowd kind of like soaks it in for a minute. And they soaked that one in for quite some time. That's why he got up and he did like his little spin thing and stuff. He said he didn't, and LeBron talked about it post-game. He said he didn't even know it went in until he heard the crowd reaction. He's like, okay, it must have gone in because they're going nuts. He just kind of ended up in that situation, which is kind of how the play developed. Like, no one saw it coming. And that's what made it kind of impressive. It's just like, you just saw him drive to the lane and then he jumped up, then he spun. The 2 players were right there. The one who was guarding him and helped defense, and he spun past both, and then it comes off the glass and it goes in and he's falling on the ground. It was just like, wow, that was just an incredible play. And, again, after like 21 years, you think, okay, I've seen everything. Like, what's there to do? And then, he gives you the spin there. and of course, more important than all of that was the victory. I think that was really good. And yeah, it's nice to see the Lakers kind of, starting to get together. And Austin Reaves, I wrote a feature on him. He had a great game because before the spin happened and all that, it was kind of a back and forth game. Again, Houston was up. They were up by 4, I think, with like 7 minutes left in the second. So in my mind, I was like, oh, we're going to be in for another, like, it's going to come down to the final 4 minutes. But no, the Lakers went on a 31-8 run to end the first half. And that was because Austin Reaves went off. He scored 15 points in the second quarter alone. He only had 18 on the night, so he did all his work in the second quarter, but that's all he needed. He was sensational. He was magnificent. He was hitting threes. He was doing free celebrations. He was coming off the dribble. He had a nice dunk on a LeBron James assist that was really good. He had another connection with AD a couple times, and they were just going. Once they hit that 31-8 run, they were up by double digits going into halftime, and they never led by less than 10 points after that. It was pretty much over after that. They just maintained that lead, and they took care of business. So, that was to me the biggest takeaway as well. Austin Reaves had probably his best game of the year, and I think eventually, not now, but I think eventually he will get his starting spot back. He's just too good, too talented. You just have to find a way to make him work with D'Lo a little bit better. This year it hasn't been as good as last year with that connection because they both kind of want the ball, even though D'Lo claims he's not a point guard.
But you don't think it's a better balance right now? What it is, because LeBron gets to run more pick and rolls now in the first unit. I feel like since it's happened.
I think Reaves is just too good, and you have to kind of figure out how to play them. Also, late in games they do play together, so I think eventually the lineup would probably be D'Lo, Austin, Vando, LeBron, AD, and I think when you start with that 5, that's a really good 5. The only problem is can Reaves and D'Lo kind of handle those really high-end guards that the West offers, like let's say Sacramento. That's going to be an issue. But I think that the allure of how good that team can be, where you got like really 4 guys who can probably score 30 points, and then Vando being so versatile as a wing defender who can kind of switch and go big, go small. I think that's going to ultimately be what it is. But who knows? Maybe he does stay in that 6-man role. He's definitely played well in it, but I just think he's shown too many signs of being like even better that I think they're going to pair him more and more with LeBron and AD as the season progresses. But I don't know. We'll see. It's early. I also thought he wouldn't get benched as quickly as he did, but he did. So I don't know.
Manu Ginobili came off the bench. Why can't Austin Reaves?
Austin Reaves is better than Manu Ginobili. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No.
Just kidding. No, shout out to Manu. Shout out to Manu. All right. To me, this was the best game of both Lakers and Clippers this week. It was Clippers again. They ran it back. They played the Warriors, but this time they got their leg back. 113-112. To me, it was the best because, one, you got the Clippers coming back. Two, your boy, Paul George. Waldo giveth, Waldo take it away. He did it. He got it done. He got it done. He got the job done, and he secured the game there. So talk to me, since you were in the building for it. What was the energy like? Oh, you weren't in the building for it?
First game I missed.
Oh, you missed this one. Oh, that's a bummer. All right. So, well, either way, tell me then. I guess you can tell me what happened with the audience, but your experience watching it and all that. Paul George hitting the game winner. What were your thoughts on this one?
Tale of two halves. First half, we're playing too slow. It couldn't get stops. Our defensive intensity wasn't where it needed to be. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were cooking us. You saw a team with movement that has chemistry and a team that has good players and can get good shots on the possession, but it's stagnant. It's pick and roll ball or ISO ball. But second half, I think the defensive intensity was better. James Harden had another really good game. Third quarter, he assisted or scored on 22 points in just that quarter alone. And I thought that Kawhi was solid throughout the game. Paul George, very good in the second half. It was just, he was still in that where's Pauldo form in the first half. And then in the second half, he was PG-13. So for him to have the confidence to take that shot down by 2 and walk up and hit that, I've always said, not always actually, but I've been recently saying over the last year or so that Kawhi is the closer in terms of the last 5 minutes of the game. He's our best player. But the last 30 seconds, I want PG with the ball because he's taller, more fluid, seems to, his legs don't seem to go as quick. He can just create more separation and has a higher chance of getting a decent look than Kawhi late in the game. He's 6'9". Like, we're not really complaining about, like, how often does Paul George get blocked? Like, the guy his release point is high. He's 6'9", long arms. Like, he gets the shot off. Sometimes Kawhi just can't even create separation at the end of the game. So I think that was a big time. And Russ, Ty Lue went with the little offense-defense action. He got that big rebound, threw the ball to Paul. I thought Russ had a pretty good game in the second half, brought a lot of energy. But it was and Zubats had a really solid game as well. So good win. Clippers were down by 22 and came back, and Kawhi started guarding Steph like the whole second half. And even though I don't think he necessarily locked him up, even though Steph was terrible in the second half, I think that was a team effort. But he definitely did better at the point of attack than Terrence did in the first half. And seeing Kawhi guard Steph Curry at this, having been through everything that he has, because I don't consider Kawhi one of the best defenders in the league anymore. Like, he's still very good, but I don't consider him one of the best in the league anymore. But when he wants to guard the best players, he can still be good. And he absolutely was in the second half. And you saw that on that last possession. Steph couldn't really get by him. And we forced it out to Draymond and for the open 3. And even though he had shot well, didn't go. Big win. Clippers just 9-10 right now as we speak. 6-3 since Russell's moved to the bench. 6-8 overall with James Harden. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, and the Warriors are 9-11. So, things can almost be worse. You can beat Golden State.
Hey, man, they have championship pedigree, though.
They do.
I think our team is better than theirs this year. Just we have more talent. Like, look at James Harden might be the second best player on that team if you put him there.
Wow. Oh, man, that's a tough one.
You don't think Klay Thompson's better than Harden? You think Klay Thompson's better than Harden? It's not about who you would rather have. You think he's better than him right now?
That's a tough one. I guess I have to answer that James Harden's better. I don't like that I have to answer that, though. It doesn't make me feel good.
I mean, last year, what do you think? James Harden did average 20 and 10 for what it's worth. Klay Thompson flamed out badly against you guys, as did James Harden. But James Harden, I think, had some higher highs in the playoffs too last year. 45
yeah, I have to admit that. Yeah, he did.
And listen, you know me, bro. I love Klay Thompson's game. He's my favorite Warrior of all time. And I don't.
Yeah, you checked him in a bathroom at a restaurant once, didn't you?
That's right. That's right, dude. Klay Thompson by the sink. He was limping heavily after that injury against Toronto, and he's a great guy, man. I love Klay Thompson. So, but yeah, I think Harden's better than him now. And then Wiggins is really struggling, but I might want to remind people Wiggins did not play in either of these games, and that matters.
Yeah, that definitely matters. But again, you play who's in front of you, and like you said, they still have championship pedigree, and the other guys were there, and they didn't get it done. So yeah, this was an entertaining game. It was a great game to watch. As someone who's a little more neutral, I just want to watch a good game. This one was a great one. I think it was the best game between Lakers and Clippers this week. And for you guys, the Clippers came out and they got the job done. So all right, like you said, the Clippers are 19 games in. The Lakers are technically 21. And 21 is just about the halfway point. So I came up with this idea, the quarter awards. I've been doing them for the Lakers the last couple years, kind of since I've been, covering the team to any capacity. And the reason I did it was because, I kind of got tired of people saying it's too early. It's too early. So I'm like, okay, well, when is not too early? And to me, I just took the mathematical approach. I'm like, okay, well, if a season has 82 games, we just divide it in half in quarters, right? 4 quarters, just like school is, or a lot of things are. Like the game of basketball is 4 quarters, right? So the first quarter is over at 20.5. So I'm like, okay, so once the Lakers hit 21, I'm like, okay, let's just call it the quarter awards. Obviously, 42 is the middle, and et cetera, until we get to the end. And I looked at it because I'm like, this way I can kind of quickly dictate where I think the team is, where I think the best players at certain awards are. And just kind of see how much does it change? How much does my opinion change throughout the years? It always being the same thing, and just kind of like document it, right? Same reason why they do that for grades, even though they don't count to the end. It's to document and to kind of track, progress theoretically, which we talked about. It might have been other things for other of us who weren't doing so hot, but so I thought let's do that with the Clippers. Let's do it with the Lakers. Again, the Clippers are technically 2 games behind, but if we wait, then the Lakers will be even more ahead, and also we won't hit it perfectly because this is a weekly podcast. So it's a little early for the Clippers, but only about like 2 games. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the way we're going to do it, we're going to talk about MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Sixth Man. Now, when it comes to these 4 awards, we're not saying these players are going to win it for the NBA. We're saying if we're giving out team awards based on these award names, that's who'd win it. Okay, so just in case anyone's wondering why do I have every Laker winning every major NBA season award? I do not. This is just the team award, and we're going to do it for each team. So I'm going to do both Lakers and Clippers, so is Dime, and we'll start category by category, and we'll explain it. So I'll kick it off for the Lakers for MVP, and I'll give the answer in just really, really short description because I haven't asked Dime what his answers are. I don't know, so we have no idea, and he doesn't know my Clippers answers either. So we're going to kind of learn them and see which ones are the same, which ones are different. We'll talk about. So for MVP, I'm going with LeBron James because even though Anthony Davis might be the better player, I think the most valuable is LeBron. It begins and starts with him. So I still have LeBron as that player. Like you mentioned about PG being the guy with the ball in the final 30 seconds. LeBron's definitely the guy I want with the ball and making the final shots and all of that. So I'm still going with LeBron, year 21. That's my MVP for the Lakers. Who do you have as the MVP for the Lakers then?
This was the hardest one of all of them, except for maybe Clippers defensive player. These were the 2 that I had the most trouble with because it feels like LeBron has had less bad games than AD. But then I remember I'm like, LeBron's had some bad games too, though. It's just he can be more efficient in the games that he plays bad. But he's like his defense sometimes is just not there at this age. Anthony Davis at the minimum, his defense is always pretty good. But I feel like even though I think they're both basically equally as valuable, but the thing is when AD comes off the floor, the defense looks terrible. But then I think the numbers favor LeBron when it comes to the on-off stuff. So it feels like there's been some really bad runs, at least in the first 15 games or so, with LeBron on the bench. But I remember against OKC, it was actually with AD on the bench that OKC started taking over the game. So my answer, all in all, I did go with LeBron by just a tad. But I don't know if he's actually the most valuable player on the Lakers because Anthony Davis, I think, is the only chance you guys have of being a top 10 defensive team. Like without him, I think you would be food, not going to lie. Because your perimeter defense is not that good. Like right now, especially, is not that good. Vanderbilt's not there. You're really relying on Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince to basically stop these elite players on other teams. And like AD, if he's not snuffing out pick and rolls and guarding 2 guys at once like he does, you're in trouble. But I went with LeBron by just a tad. Even with all that being said, I just think it's so close. I don't know who's actually the most valuable player on the Lakers, but right now, as far as like player of the season so far, I'd go with LeBron by just a bit.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it would not shock me at all if at the end of the year we're like, oh, it's AD by like a mile. That could very well happen because all it is the offense. And I think it really comes down, like you said, to the offense because defense AD has it. And here's a clear example. Even when LeBron sleepwalks, he or has a game where you're like, he kind of wasn't that great today. You look at the stats and you're like, oh, he had 19 points. Okay, like I don't know, it felt like he had 8.
And efficient
And the
too.
difference is, yeah, the difference is, here's the one stat that'll give it to you. This season, there have been 2 games where Anthony Davis scored less than 10 points. LeBron has scored 10 or more points consecutively in 1,433 games and counting. And that's the difference. LeBron never has a game like that. It's never happened, period. And AD has that game once every 3 weeks. And that's the reason why I think we just give a slight edge to LeBron over AD in terms of MVP. Best player right now, I think that is AD. But most valuable, that value, as we've talked about in the regular NBA awards, that's always kind of a little more harder to define and figure out. And I think that's why we're kind of struggling with that answer. But it's close either way. All right, so for the Clippers, why don't we have you kick it off here? Tell us who the MVP of the Clippers so far is in 19 games in. Your mic's
Paul George. I think it's Paul George. I just think has been better than Kawhi. He's averaging more points. Defense, we'll get into that. Paul George has been good, but I think he's been the more consistent player. He's been more aggressive, and he's just had more great games. So I'm going to go with Paul George.
Yeah, I go with Paul George. That's heavy lies the crown for him. He's the one who's taking the shots. He's the one who gets made fun of for the wedgies. He's the one who gets made fun of for the Where's Waldo. And he's the one who hit the game winner against the Warriors just this past game. He's the guy. He's the most valuable. If he's rocking, there's going to be a lot of winning in LA. And if he's not rocking, there's not going to be a lot of winning. That's who's the most valuable, the one who can dictate those kinds of scenarios because they have the ball in their hands. They're making the decisions. They're making the plays. It's not always him. It's a lot more by committee there. But when we look at all the examples, it's more on Paul George. And to me, it's the same thing. He's the most valuable. And if he gets going, if he's the best version of himself, the Clippers are going to win a playoff series they weren't supposed to win because we're going to say, man, Paul George was just incredible for 2 weeks. And that's why they beat Team X. And to me, that's why he's the MVP, even over Kawhi. All right, so Defensive Player of the Year. I think we're going to make this one pretty quick for the Lakers. Yeah, it's Anthony Davis. I think the distance between him and second is quite massive. He's just, again, even when he has a bad game, he doesn't have a bad defensive game. He's blocking shots. He's getting rebounds. He's discouraging players from shooting. Players are getting happy feet when they're driving to the paint because they're like, where is he? Where's he at? Let me kick it back out. I don't know where he's going. Is he behind me? That's who Anthony Davis is. And he's not fast enough to necessarily keep up with every single guard, but he can pretty much keep up with just about every single guard except the absolute elite. And I've even seen him do that against Stephen and players like that for a series or two, not for a quarter or anything like that. But he's versatile enough with his experience as a guard back when he was in high school that he can keep up with them too. Yeah, I just don't think there's any other individual Laker who's putting up anywhere near the kind of defense that Anthony Davis does for the Lakers. I'm guessing you agree there with that one, Dime?
Yeah. Not much more to say. Not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close. You're right. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and move on with the Clippers. You mentioned that it was the hardest for you. It also was really hard for me. I thought about this, and I was like, I just can't come up with an answer. I'll give you mine after I hear yours, but who do you got for Defensive Player of the Year for the Clippers?
There's not been any standout. I think the last couple of games, if it's Zubats, has been really good. I think the first couple of games of the season, Westbrook was really good. But because I can't give it to Zubats because he has way too many of those games where he doesn't even look like he should be a starting center in the NBA, which is insane. But he does have those. His lows are bad. So I have to say it's either one of Kawhi or Paul. Then I thought about it. And because of the last 2 weeks or so, I went with Kawhi because Paul George against Denver and against Golden State had 2 absolute stinkers. And Kawhi will never play stupid defense. Like the worst that can happen to Kawhi is, he doesn't have a couple bad closeouts. Maybe a couple guys blow by him and he gets lost once or twice off the ball. But for the most part, he's always engaged. And for what it's worth, even though Paul George is the guy that has a podcast and is not shy on the microphone and stuff, and Kawhi won't even have a social media, Kawhi communicates more on defense. It's very evident. He's always calling out for switches, transition. He's always pointing. Paul George, a lot of times when we have miscommunications, he's involved in it. So I think Paul George's on-ball defense is a lot better than off-ball. And so that's why I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard as the defenders so far.
Yeah, I struggle with this one too. The year that Russ was on the Lakers, there was one moment where I'm like, you know what? They're so bad. I put an empty chair up on my YouTube channel. I'm like, none of you get it, even though I just cannot. I almost did that this year for the Clippers right now because I was having trouble. But I think I'm going to kind of give a legacy vote here, and I went with Russ because I've seen Russ just this past summer, again, be defensively engaged in games that matter and play good defense. And I think he still definitely has that in him. I think you're probably right. If I think about it a little bit more, I probably would give it to Kawhi, but I'm going to stick with my Russ because that's what I had before we started recording. And I'm going to stick with Russ because, like I said, he's had to play different roles. He has tough responsibilities, tough jobs against some of these bigs, these guards, and he never shies away from that challenge. Especially if you push him, you start talking smack, he'll definitely bring that energy in. And especially in high stakes games, I think we'll see as the season goes on, and if the Clippers make the playoffs. I promise you, Russ is going to bring the energy needed on defense, and we'll be like, oh yeah, he's forcing turnovers. They got to call timeouts. They're having trouble because Russ is just being a menace. So I went with Russ right now, but I agree it was a tough one, and for anyone you'd want to give the award to, there's an argument for why you shouldn't. So hopefully, as time goes on, the Clippers kind of establish that defense a little bit better, especially individually. Okay, so most improved. This is another one I had trouble with both teams. I ended up going with Cam Reddish because even though when you think of most improved, as you know, the award usually goes to whose points per game went higher. That's who's most improved. And that's a very flawed logic because sometimes players just get more opportunities or they just are growing normally. It's not even that much of a shock. But for Cam Reddish, I think it's a perfect example because he's most improved because he's improved in ways you did not expect him to improve. No one, I didn't hear a person when Cam Reddish was acquired be like, great, we got an awesome guard defender now on the Lakers. That's not what I heard. The most rosy conversation I heard about Cam was, oh, he's a shooter, like he's a playmaker, he's in the perfect spot, whatever. And that's not what he's been. He's been a role player playing his role, like you mentioned earlier, getting steals, getting deflections, doing the little things, boxing out, fighting off of screens, things that you never heard anyone talk about Cam Reddish like this. And that's the stuff he's doing. He's doing the hustle plays. I saw him do a play against Houston where the ball was going to go out of bounds and he hustled and he like swung it and he like was diving on the ground and he ended up passing it to the corner and then the ball rotated and the Lakers got a good shot off of that. And I'm like, did I just see Cam dive on the floor for a ball to like save it? Like, what's going on? Like, this is not Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish is like the guy who thinks he's an all-star. Like, what's happening? And he's embraced his new role, and we'll see if that continues. But for me, that's why I have Cam Reddish as most improved Laker. Who did you select for the Lakers for this award?
I thought it was only supposed to be most improved, meaning like they were on your team last season and we've seen them improve. So I had a lot of trouble. So I didn't actually go with anyone for that part. So I would agree with you. If it's about overall, from no matter what team they came from, absolutely it's Cam Reddish. There's no doubt. And for all the reasons you said, for him to be relied on as this main point of attack defender, he's been impressive on that end. His three ball's not been bad. I'm going to go with Cam Reddish.
Okay, perfect. So with the Clippers, what was your selection for most improved?
Yeah, nobody's really improved that much, but I would say Bones Highland before he got benched, he was looking like he improved and was going to take a leap, looked more engaged defensively. His passing was showing off a little more. He was getting more comfortable, and it's sad what's happened to him in the rotation. But yeah, Bones Highland.
Yeah, for me, I also left this one blank because of the same reason. I was like, I just can't think of anyone. The closest I came to was Bones, but I'm like, he got benched. Like, I don't know. I mean, and then your stars are still your stars. And I looked up and down. I was trying to think. I'm like, yeah, they're about the same. So I'm with you there. I think that's something that that might be. Is that something we can look at the coaching staff and be like, hey, the guys aren't improving under your watch? Like, that's kind of a you thing. Like, isn't that the kind of the job of a coach is to optimize players? Could the fact that we struggle with this this award for the Clippers be an indictment on Ty Lue and the coaching staff? What do you think?
No, in my opinion, because our team is old. So, like, no one's getting better except for if it's a Zubats. But I think that's more on him, man. Like, This is the first year. I've said he's gotten better every year, but this is the first year I feel like he hasn't gotten better. He's pretty much the same. However, he is trending in the right direction. So we'll see. You know what? Actually, I'll tell you this. We have been asking for a couple more Zoo low post touches on the left block for like 2 years now, and he never gets any. And now that Harden's here, you're never going to see that. But there's times where Zoo will have a smaller defender, and it's not like Zoo is unable to score on a smaller guy. Like he actually has pretty good touch around the basket. So I think to a degree with Zubats, he's the only one you can say. Bones Highland was gonna get those minutes. Then we made the trade, which kind of ruled him out. And Norman Powell is he's peaked. Like this is who he is. I think he's in his prime right now in his role, and that's about it. Mason Plumlee's been in the league for a while. You know what I mean? Daniel Tice is older, so these guys are all older.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. Good point. They're older. There's not going to be this much improving. The team is what it is, and it's just about maximizing what they got.
I don't want to let one player off the hook. Terrence Mann, my favorite player, he's struggling immensely from three. He's completely in his own head. He's looked like he's gotten worse, but that's only because he's in his own head. He needs to get out of that funk, start making threes. We know the other stuff he does, but if he doesn't improve that shot, it's going to really limit his ceiling as what I call a championship level role player. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, no, fair. Okay, now the final one here, six man. Six man's always tricky because I think for both my answers, they might be a starter at some point again. So
yeah, I think we're gonna have the same answer. We're gonna have the same answer for this one.
Yeah, so I have Austin Reaves. Again, I think eventually he will be starting again, but right now, technically, he's been on the bench more than he started, and he's been the best player on the Lakers coming off the bench. I think he's the one who has the home run potential. He's the one who has the potential to score 30 and take over games and be a focal point a night here and a night there. Maybe the third best Laker if everything goes his way. We're finding out this year what he can be, but I think if he's gonna be a bench player, well then he's the sixth man. Do you have the same answer there for the Lakers?
Yeah, Reaves to the Lakers. I think if he stays on the bench, he could be in the sixth man of the year conversation. And then Russ for the Clippers.
Yeah, same thing. Russ for the Clippers. He had to sacrifice. Again, it's stated that he said that's what he wanted, or he's the one who said, "Okay, I gotta go there." It's not working, and he's embraced it. He's not embraced it. He's in a bad mood today. He's in a good mood today. The point is, he's the one who's had to play that reduced role, and if he's going to play that role, he's definitely the best player coming off the bench on that team. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, we got Austin and Russ there, six man.
I want to say one thing though. He is the best player in my opinion coming off that bench. But look at I want everybody to pay attention going forward. His minutes versus Norman Powell's minutes, because the fit with Norman Powell next to 3 stars is better because he's a catch and shoot and can attack closeouts kind of guy. Shoots a good percentage from 3. So in the Warriors game, he got like 30 minutes. Russ got I want to say 19. So that's something to watch going forward.
Yeah, and right now, again, like you said, things are changing, so we'll see. So right now, Russ is averaging 26.7 and Powell's 23.7. So they're already close. If that continues to change, those numbers will flip and it'll be Norman Powell with more minutes per game throughout the year. So, all right, we'll check again at the halfway point. Hopefully both teams are near the top of the league, and it'll be interesting to see now that we have our original answers. We can look back and be like, oh, I can't believe we put this, or like, oh, this is all changed, or is it going to be the same thing and the team doesn't change either way? Now we'll know exactly where our heads were at 21 games in or so, and we'll see where they're at when we hit the 41, which will be the halfway point later on this year. Okay, cool. So let's wrap it up with the games going on. For the Lakers, we're going to go in order, but the Lakers technically only have one game on the schedule. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, if you're watching. Well, actually, it'll be the day you guys watch it, if you watch it the moment it premieres. Lakers versus Suns. This is an NBA in-season tournament night, so hopefully my clip doesn't end up going viral because the Lakers got kicked out themselves. They're playing the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns have Kevin Durant, but we'll see what happens with the other stars that they have there. It looks like they're going to be missing some guys, but also they have Kevin Durant. If you have Kevin Durant, that's enough. He went up against Austin Reaves, sixth man of the Lakers, and he told him, "You can't guard me." And he told the Lakers coaching staff, "Put someone else on me. He can't guard me." And then he got the ball again and scored on Reaves again. I'm like, wow, that's got to be rough for Reaves. And he talked about it after, like, I mean, I'm doing the best I can. Like, I can't guard him. He's right. Like, he's a 7-footer, and he's just like the elbow's always open, and he keeps making it. So Kevin Durant's easily enough to just overwhelm and score 45 and beat the Lakers. So I'm definitely curious to see how this game's going to go. The NBA in-season tournament games have been like elevated a little bit. They got a little more energy, like I said, and there's definitely going to be energy inside crypto tomorrow. I can't wait to go and attend, and hopefully the Lakers win and go to Vegas. If they do win, they will go to Vegas. They'll play Thursday. I'm not sure who their opponent is because that's still being decided. If they lose, that game will become just a regular season game. I believe they'll go on the road. And again, that's also going to be decided depending on, if they lost and who lost. And the NBA kind of left some wiggle room for 2 games for this reason. So that's why the Lakers technically only have 1 game on paper. Regardless, win or lose, they will play more than 1 game this week. But right now, that's all we got. So Lakers, Suns. Before I answer, I actually want to hear a Dime. Who are the Lakers going to Vegas?
No, the Suns are going to beat you this time because Devin Booker's going to play. I'm serious. That's my prediction. I've been so good with the Lakers prediction so far on this show. By the way, I nailed them this week again, 3 for 3. So
you only got one shot this week because we don't know the other teams.
I've picked this Lakers. I don't know if I picked you guys to beat Phoenix on the road in the in-season tournament game. I'm not sure if I did, but I know I picked you guys. I think you did. Really? Wow.
I think you did. Yeah.
I know I picked you guys to beat them on the home opener. Right? You played Phoenix in the home opener this year.
Home opener, yes.
Yeah, the Christian Wood guards KD at the end of the game, switch everything with the Bigs game. I remember that one. And the second one was the Cam Reddish dagger. So I'm going with the Suns because, dude, Booker, people aren't talking about it enough because he just came back. But I've been saying it for a couple of years, but like you really have to name 10 better players than him at this point is like I think it's a little disingenuous. He's so good. So we'll see. It would be a great win for the Lakers to beat the Suns 3 times already. Because even though they haven't had Beal, it's just nice because you never know what kind of tiebreaker situation you could be in with Phoenix later down the line. So it's going to be a good game. Should be a very good atmosphere considering what we saw within the Indiana and Sacramento. So, yeah, I think, but I'm going to go with Phoenix, unfortunately.
I'm gonna go kind of the homer pick, but I'm also going to give you the logic why. I'm going to go with the Lakers. This game definitely makes me nervous. The Suns, they're a quality team. They're a favorite to win the title for a reason because they're absolutely stacked. And even when they're missing one player, like you said, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Okay, I like my odds any night against anyone if you're giving me those 2. But I'll say this: 1, the Lakers really like this tournament. It's not just talk. They're legitimately excited about winning $500,000. They are. It as silly as it sounds, it has increased their desire to win these games. They've played really well. Here's a stat I'll give you. Through 17 regular season games, the Lakers are a minus 94 point differential. In the 4 in-season tournament games, they are plus 74. They love playing in these in-season tournament games. They come up for them. They play up for each one. And I'm telling you one thing, just like we saw during the playoffs, just like we saw in Lakers Clippers, when Laker fans know this game matters, they get up for it. And they're going to get up for it. That crowd, you're going to be like, is this a playoff game? Like, I promise you, you're going to be like, what's going on? The court's going to look different. The players are going to be amped up trying to go to Vegas and all that can entail. And then the fans are going to be hyped about, let's go beat Phoenix. Let's go get this cup. We're already in it. Might as well win it. Let's do it. And I think that's going to drive it enough where, like you said, the energy is going to be up there. It's going to be high. They're at home. I think they're gonna pull it out. But yeah, Devin Booker, of course, he's literally kicked the Lakers out of the playoffs before. I've seen him do it, so it wouldn't surprise me if he does it again. But I'm gonna go with the there.
Yeah, I mean, also Phoenix and the Lakers. I mean, they go back decades and decades of having playoff battles. So I think that will be something added to the fire as well. And also, as far as the crowd goes, I don't know about the players, but LeBron and Kevin Durant, to see them play each other 3 times this season after the years of them not playing each other, that's pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun game for sure. It's on TNT. It's at 7:00 West Coast time. So yeah, I mean, it's the marquee matchup. If you're an NBA casual or whatever, you should tune in. This is going to be a fun one, regardless of who wins, at least from a casual perspective. All right, Wednesday we have Clippers Denver. That's at 7:00. Actually, no, so Clippers versus Denver, not Clippers at Denver. Clippers versus Denver, 7:00, ESPN. So again, another marquee matchup here. Clippers Denver. Who you got, Dime? Are the Clippers beating the Nuggets?
God, we're in such a drought against them. I'm gonna go with Denver because Jokic and Aaron Gordon are back. I won't be at that game, by the way. Again, it's going to be my second missed game, but I'm going with Denver just because it's hard for me to see us beating them. I mean, if there is a game to beat them, it's this one. They haven't been playing their best,
First one
but
back.
we didn't beat them with with Reggie and DJ, like Jokic and Gordon added back to the mix. I don't know about that. So, but then there's the side of me that says we almost beat them in Denver with just no Murray. Who knows? But I'm going to go with Denver because it's just a safer bet.
You know what? I'm going to go with Clippers. Let's roll the dice. They get the win.
Wow.
Yeah, they get the win. It's one of those. It's one of those games. Not that they don't care, but the Denver's just kind of sleepwalks. Hey, we're kind of reintegrating guys. The Clippers are a little bit rested. Yeah.
Four big names like that super team.
I think so. I'm gonna say that there's a little bit of rust with Denver. They're not quite ready, and the Clippers are rested. They're at home. I think they take care of business. So yeah, I'm gonna go Clippers on this one. All right, and then the final game we have here again, because the Lakers will have more games. We do not know who that will be, so there's no point in trying to guess. It'd be too hard. So the final game we have on the slate is Clippers at Utah. Dime's second favorite team.
Oh,
I couldn't even get to the bit before you responded. Yeah, Clippers at Utah, 7:00. Also on ESPN. So we got at least all official Lakers and Clippers games. They're all on national television this week so far. Again, Clippers at Utah, 7:00, ESPN on Friday.
Wow, the ESPN. Oh my God, we have to make a call. Putting the Utah trash on ESPN. Are you kidding me?
Hey, I'm not kidding. They're going to be on.
That's because of us, by the way, Utah fans. That you're on TV because of us, because we have stars and you don't. Besides Larry Markkinen, who might get traded, and you'll be left with nothing. Anyway.
Remember what LeBron said? He's like, no one ever picks Utah when they're growing up playing video games.
You know what's weird though? I'll even though I think they're absolute scum, I'll actually play with the Stockton Malone Jazz on 2K sometimes. I felt bad to even say that. That felt icky to even say that. By the way,
it does. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm going with the Clippers, even though it's always tough playing in Utah. Man, their crowd is nuts.
Yeah, they go crazy.
Yeah, we lost them already this season on a Jordan Clarkson fall-away three. I'm gonna go with the Clippers winning this one. Then all the Harden fans and all the people that are pro Harden are gonna say, "Well, we didn't beat the Jazz without Harden." Every game takes its own identity. So, but I'm gonna go with a win here. I'm gonna hopefully take out the trash. Ain't no Jazz in Utah. Never will be. Never was.
No, there isn't. There's no Jazz or people who play Jazz in Utah. I'll leave it at that. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing. Clippers take care of the Jazz. I don't think the Jazz win that game. It will be a tough crowd, but I wouldn't say that crowd's fickle, but if you get to an early lead, it calms down, and there you go. You take care of business. So I'm going to go with the Clippers actually winning both. I have every LA team winning every game this week so far, so that'll be tough, but let's see it happen for the Cup.
The LA sweep. You know, we've had a lot of nights where we've had both teams losing the last 2 weeks, and then we had, I think, one against, it was the Detroit and Sacramento night where both of us won. You know. Oh,
and the other one too, the Clippers. Yes.
On Saturday, Golden State and the late, So that would be nice. You know, if the Clippers do what you say, win their 2 games, they're finally going to be over 500 for the first time since 3-2.
That's wild. There you go. All right, let's see it. Everything's going up.
By the way, the New Orleans Pelicans, as of this recording, have just beaten Sacramento, so that means that they're going to be the finalists representing the West in the semifinals against the Lakers. So it's going to be if the Lakers win. So the winner of Phoenix and Lakers is going to play New Orleans. So that'll be interesting. You know, this is reminding me, you know what, with Indiana winning and now New Orleans winning a game, this is reminding me of, like, for anyone that watches soccer, like the Carabao Cup. Like,
thank you.
It's like, but not. I'm not saying the FA Cup, because the FA Cup is a little bit bigger. It feels like a Carabao Cup where, like, the smaller team, like the Wigan Athletic, can sneak in and maybe get the championship.
Newcastle's putting up some hardware.
Basically, yeah. Well, see, we have a Newcastle now is in the Champions League and got that money. You got that old money now.
Sorry, Crystal Palace would have been a better.
Something like that, like Crystal Palace winning the Carabao Cup, Indiana Pacers, or what's it called? New Orleans Pelicans, like teams that have no shot, no offense, to win the championship this year.
Sure.
I think New Orleans has a chance to win a series, honestly, if they're fully healthy. I think they have a chance to win a series.
If they're fully healthy, yes, because of Zion. Yeah.
And Brandon Ingram are great. And they have Herb. Now that Trey Murphy's back, like Herb Jones, they have a really good team.
Who's another
Indiana,
player they just that was injured, just came back for the Pelicans?
yeah, Trey Murphy.
No, there's another one.
It's not Trey Murphy. No, CJ McCollum.
CJ McCollum, yeah. So they got a squad. Like what I'm saying, a couple players have been out, and they have a couple stars in Bi and Zion. So yeah, they I can see it. I can see if they stay healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana, I don't think they're going to win I think this is the year that they break into the playoff scene. Like they'll get in as an 8th or 7th seed potentially. They'll have to beat a team like the Nets
East
or
is
something.
tough, yeah.
Yeah, but
East is tough.
Or the Atlanta Hawks, but I got them. I don't know if I'll have them I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. Before the season, I had them as like my I think I had them as the 9th seed. I think they're my 10 actually. They're my 10, but from the looks of things, they might finish higher. Halliburton's playing insane. So yeah, it's like teams that are probably not going to go that far have a chance to do something special, and that's cool.
Yeah. I think the NBA in-season tournament has done what it was supposed to do. Take the hype from the beginning of the season and just let it drag on a little bit more, get us to the holiday, and then after that we go through. And yeah, again, it's only adding one extra game to the calendar, and it gives these games spikes. You saw that if today's game was not an NBA in-season tournament game, I wouldn't go on that Celtics rant. The Pacers wouldn't have been jumping up and down when they hit. It would have just been a regular game. It would not have that energy.
This is how I put it. I think so. I was at both of the Clippers in-season games in the group stage, and I'd say group stage just felt like a marquee regular season game. But these knockout games felt like a play-in atmosphere from what it seemed like on TV. So that's good. That's awesome. If those knockout games can become something great, that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, it's what we've all been talking about. We want the regular season to matter more. Does it solve all 82? No, but it solves a couple games. It solves a couple weeks. And next year, maybe that means the group stage games get even more animated because players realize, oh, I saw that. I wanted to be a part of that. Okay, now actually, you know what? The group stage, I'm going to take it even more serious. And that's how you build that thing that soccer's already done, where people understand Champions League, they understand FA Cup. You know, the players get it. Everyone understands the hierarchy and when they want to go for trebles and all that kind of stuff. The NBA can start to kind of implement a little bit of that here, and I think that's good because that means that more regular season basketball is going to matter.
Oh my God! All right, we're gonna start saying NBA teams won the double. They won the NCAA tournament and the championship. Oh
yeah, we need to just create a treble. Maybe like you know how we talk about the world champions thing. If we can just find a little tournament that we can do.
I was gonna say, man, let's get the champions of each the Spanish league, the Greek league.
Yeah, let's do it.
We can find out who the Trey Lyles champion.
We
not Trey Lyles, Noah Lyles.
Yeah, the Noah Lyles Cup. That's what we call it. Yeah, we have. I already got the vision. We have that. If we can do it like in after All-Star break or before, or even like that week of, then boom, you could have the team's goal. Your first goal is going to be to get the NBA in-season tournament. Then it's the holiday break. Then you want to get the Lyles Cup, and then you go for the title, and then boom, that's the trifecta right there.
But see, not every team could compete in the Lyles Cup. That's the thing. Maybe you know what we could just do?
Elite teams, right? The winner, exactly. We got this, right? Yeah. If you make the NBA Finals, if the NBA has 4 slots to go to the East and West champions, right?
And then the East
one goes to the one goes to you can do that, or you could do 2 of those, and then the automatic ones for whoever won the NBA in-season tournament the year before, and then you can figure out the 4th one. Maybe it's like a team who's won their division, or tiebreaker.
Who has the highest record in the current season? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, who doesn't already qualify? So there you go, and boom! Look, we just solved the NBA's entire problem like in the last 5 minutes of this podcast. Soccer was the answer. Who knew?
Wow.
The beautiful game. All right.
Coming to the States this summer, Copa America.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. That's going to be
SoFi just got announced as a venue, so that's going to be awesome, man. And Messi's still playing for Argentina. This is a special thing. Oh, Brazil just got announced as a team that's going to be playing, and your Mexican team is going to be playing at SoFi.
Copa America's got that's like the premier tournament here. So yeah, I'm excited.
No, but that's first. We don't get to ever host it. I think you're thinking of the Gold Cup, Copa Oro. This is a special occasion that we're getting to host this. It was
I'm saying on this side of the hemisphere, not the.
Oh yeah.
Like this is the big one, right? Like we don't have Euro. We don't have the Euro. We have Copa America. But you're right. The North American side doesn't usually. Yeah.
For the South Americans, this is their Euro Cup. So the fact that Mexico, USA Mexico are participating, and we get to host it like we did 8 years ago, it's gonna be special. So yeah,
And it's
tune
good
in.
competition because no offense to the Gold Cup, but we know the Gold Cup's really just
Yeah.
USA versus Mexico compared
Yeah.
to Copa America. You got those Argentinian teams, you got Brazil, you have all those, Peru. There's way more competition at a higher level. No offense to like Trinidad and Tobago and like Cuba and all that stuff, El Salvador. So yeah, it's a good test for both USA and Mexico because they're also going to host the World Cup. So it's good. Okay, this is top level competition. How are you doing, and how's your progress towards representing yourself well for that World Cup? So that's good.
Yeah. Speaking, by the way, a couple shout outs before we end. LA
Yep.
Rams back to 500. Both, that's our team. Back to 500. 2 straight wins.
Yep.
And then, or is it 3 straight wins?
It's 3.
3 straight wins. Yeah. Shout out Puka Nacua, breaking records. Kareem and LeBron were at the game. And then, big shout out, Anze Kopitar, leading assists or all-time leader in assists in Kings history. So I got to give him a shout out. Just past Marcel Dion. So shout out to Kopi for sure.
All right, fantastic. We'll wrap it up there. That's the end of episode 7 of Basketball on Figueroa. I'm Edwin Garcia. That was Darian Vaziri, aka Dime Dropper, and we are out.